Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a good summer weekend. And speaking of that, I hope you have a good summer week because it's the week of 4th of July. So obviously we'll be closed on the 4th and the 5th, and ECA will be closed on the 4th and the 5th, and I hope you will be closed on the 4th and the 5th to celebrate our Independence Day. Last week, 5Q tape breakdown. It was a snippet about an advisor doing a terrific job of motivational interviewing. This guy was walking through exactly how you should be doing your meeting. So hopefully you are paying attention to these. It's only every other week. It only takes you 5 to 10 minutes to do it. Please, if you're not doing your 15-minute drills, at least do this minimally. So here's a question I ask, because I still get people, and you've heard me harp on this, and you're probably sick of me harping on it, but are there people out there that can beat the market for more than 1 year in a row? Through skill, through knowledge, through algorithms, etc. Are there people out there that can do that? Now, there used to be in the 50s, in the 40s, the 50s, 60s, even in the 70s, they could do that. But through the beats from 80s, 90s to current, it's become almost impossible to do that. Why? Why has it become almost impossible to do that? I'll give you one example. There are companies, that have bought very expensive residential condos, whole floor of the residential condos across from the New York Stock Exchange. Why? So they could get in and make a trade 85 nanoseconds prior to everybody else. And what are other companies doing right now? What are other companies doing right now? Trying to get it even shorter. So see, back in the 70s, could companies find niches in the market that people didn't know about, information in the market people didn't know about? They could, but nowadays that knowledge is what? Hell, even retail investors, how quickly do they get information? I mean, there are services out there. So, and how quick is this? This is how quick 85 nanoseconds is before everybody else can do this. It's the time it takes to go from home plate to first base. That's how much time it takes for 85 nanoseconds to get that. But you know what? If they're able to get this trade in 85 nanoseconds before somebody else, they're what? They're ahead. But now, I mean, every year they're moving this down to how much long it takes. Because actually, this information here is 6 years old. So what do you think has happened at this distance? It keeps going down. So just as a reminder, the markets are so efficient now, the chance of finding information that nobody else knows and being able to capitalize on that, it can be done. It can be done. I'll give you an example of that. So I put $67,000 into NVIDIA a year ago. Guess what it's worth today? $750,000. Now, was that skill, guys? So 67,000 to 750,000. Was that skill, guys? I wish. I mean, there was a hunch. I think it made sense. You know, I read an article saying that AI was about to explode, and NVIDIA is the top provider of those chips and things. But it was a pure lark, and I lucked out. For every one of those those calls I've made, guess what I've had in bushels? For every one of those calls I've made, guess what I've had in bushels? Singles, doubles, or strikeouts? Yeah, strikeouts. So everybody can have a good year. Everybody can have a good trade. So anybody, if I try to tell you guys, yeah, that's through my prowess, what would you say? If I said, hey, I made that trade and that's through my prowess at stock trading, what would you say? Oh, Mike, what the hell are you doing on this call for? Why aren't you spending all day long making those kind of trades? Why are you even talking to us? You should be on your yacht in the Bahamas. That's what I'd be telling me. That was pure Luck, pure luck. But could I convince myself that it was genius? Could I convince myself that that was genius? That's what we're going to talk about today. You can convince yourself that you're a genius, and and you ain't. So the chance of us finding um, a money manager is going to beat the market is between now and ain't going to happen. Now, I've been trying to highlight some of the things that we do for our for you to increase your business. One of them is your new client. When you onboard a new client, on the website we have a process to do that, which should get you more clients. So number one, you got to send a welcome letter and hopefully a welcome gift. So we like the $1 million blankets, but whatever you want to use, you can use to do that. But it should be some sort of gift for them. Then you want to send a letter to their CPA and to their attorney telling the CPA and attorney how highly your new client has spoken about their attorney and about their accountant, and that you can look forward to working with them because they have said such great things about their attorney and their accountant. Why do you want to do that? Here's the funny thing. I had accountants that would, because of the amount of clients I was bringing on the last year I was in business, I had accountants that received 5, 6 of those letters a year, that year from me. So what do you think they're thinking when they're getting 5, 6 letters from their clients saying that this is my new advisor? Is that a good thing or a bad thing for the accountant seeing 5 or 6 clients that moved to me as their advisor? What do they start to think? This must be a guy that I should be referring to. And by using the letter, not to say, hey, we should get together, we could share some business. No, I'm saying, hey, your client said such great things about you. I can't wait to work with you. If you need anything, to the accountant, I would say, if you need have any tax questions or you need any documentation, call me. I'll be happy to get that to you, obviously with the client's permission. Same thing for the attorney. So what is that making the attorney and the accountant think? First of all, the main thing, yeah, I'd love to get referrals from them. But the main reason I was doing that is why? What was the main reason I sent that letter? What is the main reason? I would love to get referrals from them. And I did. But what was the main reason I sent that letter? Who can squirrel a deal? Who is the best entity to squirrel a deal? Yeah, prevent blocking, Nick. That's exactly right. To prevent the attorney from saying, it wasn't the attorney, I'm sorry. Usually it was the accountant. Prevent the accountant saying, what are you doing? Don't move to him because they trust their accountant. You don't want that accountant blocking the deal. Does that make sense? Get them on epidemic marketing newsletters and emails, etc. So please have this set up. My top 10 advisors, they have kits. They have new client kits sitting in their storeroom or their store closet. So when they get a new client, guess what? Before the end of the day, that's going out. The welcome letter's going out. The welcome gift's going out. The CPA letter's going out. The attorney letter's going out. So it's automatic. The first thing they do when that client leaves the office is they get that kit out because they don't want people second guessing what they've just done, which is to move all their money to you. Does that make sense? So today I want to talk about nudging people. Nudge. How do you get people to move in the right direction? We can't make them do anything, but a lot of times, especially with hard decisions means there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages to doing one thing, and there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages doing the other thing. So how do you get people to get off the fence and do the right thing that we know they should be doing? And this book on Nudge, called Nudge, has an excellent explanation of that. So one of the examples they give is lunch ladies. Lunch ladies, and they talk about choice architecture. And this was studied in several different scenarios. So the one thing about lunch when it comes to kids is, do they make good choices when it comes to kids? Do they make good choices as far as foods when it comes to kids? Not all kids, but 90% of kids. Do they make good choices? You line up a whole bunch of food. Heck, I don't even make good choices when you line up a bunch of food, right? So they're wondering, how could we affect kids in how they choose food? They found that by the way that they arranged the food, so what they had first, whether it was desserts first or second, whether they had the vegetables first or second. The way they arranged the food, the choice architecture, increased or decreased consumption by more than 25%. So they didn't make any. It was all the same exact foods, just how they arranged it, the order they arranged it when the kids went through the lunch line changed. So you think, first of all, how many humans think that we are in control of the decisions that we make? I've just read 2 books on the subconscious, and I'm now convinced that I am a puppet. I am a puppet. I am a puppet, because my subconscious is making 90% of the decisions out there. You don't even know why you're making a decision, and you make it. I'm going to give you some very good examples of that here today. So here's the great thing about what we do with the 5Q system. We're tapping into the subconscious. They don't even know why they're making the decisions they do, but they do, because our subconscious is awesome at filtering all sorts of information that our conscious can't do, because the subconscious uses all of our life experiences to make those decisions. But unfortunately, the subconscious also does things that can be illogical as well, or can be skewed or nudged one direction or the other. And we want to talk about that today. Now, many of us think, wait, I'm way too smart for that to happen to me. I'm way too smart for my subconscious to dictate the way I'm going to move, because I'm a logical person. Well, here's a great example of that. Sir Isaac Newton invented the cat door. Has anybody heard of this story? Sir Isaac Newton invented the cat door. Is Sir Isaac Newton a smart guy or a dumb guy? Logical guy or not logical guy? Genius or not genius? Yeah, he's extremely smart. Here's the funny thing. He loved cats. That's why he invented the cat door. And he had a mama cat, and that cat had a kitten. So he put a big cat door in for the mama cat and a small cat door in for the baby cat. Was that smart or was that stupid? Was that smart or stupid? Did he have a brain fart when he did that? Did he need 2 doors? That's right, Steve. Did he need 2 doors? No. Both the cats went through the same door. So he did not. So even geniuses what? Screw up. So the difference. So Albert Einstein said the difference between stupidity and genius is that genius has its limits. In other words, stupidity doesn't. And when you look at how our brains are set up, we have 2 kinds of thinking. One is the automatic system, where we don't really think it through. We just do what comes to mind. And then we have the conscious thought system, where we do the Ben Franklin close and advantages and disadvantages. Am I making a good idea or bad idea? So we have these 2 brains. So this is the subconscious brain, and this is the conscious brain. See, how much thought, here's a great example of that. How much thought went into the college that you chose? And I've seen this with kids for the last 20 years, because, when I'm old, so when me and my cohorts went to school, did we make visits to 15 different colleges to determine where we were going to go, or did we just go to the nearest college or a college? I mean, the vast majority of us did what? We went to the college that was closest, the college that was cheapest, the college that was whatever. But now we've got kids that go to 15, and my neighbor kid, 15 different college visits, 15 different college visits all over the country. And with my own kids, we didn't do that many, but we did 4 or 5. But here's the funny thing. How did these kids choose where they wanted to go? In the end, with all these visits, how did these kids choose where they wanted to go? Because it had the best program that they were looking at, because they had the best professors, because they had the best reviews online. How did they make their decision? Guys that have had kids go to colleges, how do they make their decision? Based on what? Based on which one of these guys? The gut reaction or the conscious reflective thought? Gut. They walk onto the campus, and I've heard this over and over. They walk onto the campus and say, "This is the place. This is where I need to go." Or it's based on the college kid that's giving the tour. If the college kid is giving a tour, is a great tour giver, that's the college they want to go to. If they're lousy, They don't want to go to that college. If every kid on campus saying, hey, cheering them on to come to their school, they're going to go to that school. If every kid on campus is aloof and cold, they don't want to go to that school. If the campus looks like an old, like the campus they dreamed of from wherever, things they watched in movies, then they want to go. See, it's a gut decision. But how important is that? How important is the college you choose? Important or not important? Let me give you another example of that. How do you, and I'm sorry, I think Michelle and I counted, we've had 8 different houses in the 30 years we've been married. 8 different, between second homes and first homes, 8 different houses. And guess how many logical decisions we made? Guess how many of those houses were bought due to logic? 0, right, Steve? 0. We walked it I would say probably 5 out of the 8, we knew within 2 minutes of walking that house that we were going to buy that house. Now, how important is a decision is buying a house? Yeah, vibes, right, Dale? Vibes. It's probably the biggest purchase we ever make in our lives is a house. And tell me, am I the only stupid person that buys a house that way? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm assuming other people do it that way. But I've had realtors tell me the exact same thing. People don't do Ben Franklin's closes on whether they should buy a house or not. They walk in and they either say, I need it, or I want this house. I can feel myself living in this house. I feel at home. Guys, how many times when you were looking for a house did you walk in and immediately you said, this ain't the house? I don't like it. And how many times you walk in a house saying, whoa, this is the house. This is awesome. So we, as human beings, make decisions too often based on our guts. And why? Why is that? Well, first of all, it's a lot easier. See, we allow our brain to make heuristic decisions. That's shortcuts. Because if our brain, if our conscious mind was engaged for every single decision we need to make, whether to take a breath or not take a breath, whether to take a step or not take a step, whether to turn right or to look left, whether to blink or not blink, whether to there's so many things that are on autopilot. How many of you have ever driven to work or driven someplace and then you can't even remember how you got there because your mind was working on some problem, some idea, some whatever, and you're like, whoa, how did I even get? But you were on autopilot driving. You still got there safely. You were still obeying the laws. You're still stopping at stop signs. You're still merging properly. But your brain, you were on such autopilot, you don't even remember doing that. Another human being in your brain was doing that for you. And see, our brain gets that way. So we use common sense, intuitive judgments, rules of thumb, best practices. It allows our brain to focus. Because how many things can our brain focus on at one time? How many different things can our brain focus on at one time? One. That's all it can do. But we've got hundreds of decisions happening every single minute. So our brain uses heuristics to make decisions for us so that we don't have to do that. Make sense? So how do you make a decision if you're an expert? Now I've just said that I'm kind of saying that heuristics is a bad thing. Letting your gut make a decision is a bad thing. But maybe buying a house that way is not such a bad thing. And here's why. If you are an expert, how should you make a decision? If you are an expert, should you make a decision via your intuition or via your logic? Intuition or logic? If you're an expert. Alfred's got it. Dale's got it. Intuition or logic, if you're an expert. It ends up, if you are an expert in that, if you're a surgeon and you're making a surgical choice, if you're an architect and you're making an architect, if you're an engineer and you're making an engineering choice, then you should listen. This is only works if you're an expert. You should use your intuition. Why? Because intuition is that subconscious where it's taking all of your experience, every single thing that you've ever gone through. If you're a surgeon, every surgery you've gone through, every mistake you've made, every right mistake you've made, or a right thing that you've done, all of your your education, all of the reviews that you've done on other people's surgeries, taking all that, but see, that's all happening under, because your conscious brain can't analyze all those things. So it's the subconscious mind is steering. You don't even know why you're making a decision, but you make a decision. Have you ever done that with where you were driving and all of a sudden you decide you should do something and then it helped you avoid an accident? You don't even know why you thought that accident was going to happen, but your body told you, I need to steer away from there, and boom, then right in front of you an accident happens. So your subconscious is taking all that information, processing it so quickly, your conscious mind can't even catch up, and telling you to do things. And the couple of books I read on the subconscious, we make a decision. The funny thing is, we make a decision. Almost every decision we made is made at least a half a second before we even know we're going to make that decision. Our subconscious already made the decision before we even make that decision. So with experts, you should use your intuition, your gut reaction. But if you're not an expert, keep calm and use logic, because you don't have all that experience. You don't have all those surgeries. You don't have all those reviews of mistakes you've made. You don't have all those stories of other surgeons. If you're not an expert, you need to use as much logic as possible. Now, here's the thing. How many of our clients are experts at investing? Hell, how many of us are experts at investing? Well, here's the thing. Can you be an expert in investment and have a great financial advisory practice? Can you be an expert and I got advisors that tell me they are. They're experts at investing, and they're also have a very flourishing financial advisory business. They can't. Because the smartest guys I've known fail out of the business. The smartest guys I've known have failed out of the business. Why? You can't do both. You either have to be client-focused or investment-focused. You can't be both investment and client-focused. You cannot divide your time. So if you have a successful practice, you better be client-focused. Client-focused, because believe me, I don't want a guy who's an expert in investments talking to clients. Why? How well do you think they would talk to clients in terms that the client would understand? The guys that actually make the decisions behind buying and selling stocks, how good are they? They're too geeky, right? They're just too geeky. So our clients are not experts, so we have to help them use logic. The best way to do that is with that choice architecture, by arranging choices correctly. See, a choice architect, setting the best possible defaults is important. The way the information is framed influences the individuals. We have to frame the information properly. Do we do that with 5Q Group? Is the 5Q system designed to frame to frame questions, to frame decisions, to make it easier for clients? That's the whole process. So we need to have what's called libertarian paternalism. Libertarian means freedom of choice should never be in doubt. Architects should reserve or increment the number of choices. Paternalism, architects can influence people's behaviors to make their lives better, as judged by the people by themselves. Nudge combines both of these. It alters people's behavior in a predictable way. Do we alter people's behavior in a predictable way? When they first come in to see us, how much do they love their current advisor? If somebody came into me at the first meeting, told me they loved their current advisor, they thought he walked on water, they thought he was the best person in the world, that he had only had their concerns involved in his decision making, that nobody had cared more about them than their current advisor. Was I happy or sad when the client said that? Was I happy or sad? I was happy, right. Why was I happy? I was extremely happy. Why was I the more they loved their guy, the happier I was. Now, is that typical? If you polled non-5Q advisors and said, hey, somebody comes in and they're totally in love with their guy, is that a great thing or a bad thing? What would non-5Q people think? Non-5Q advisors think. They're thinking that's bad. I love it. Why do I love it? Why do I love it when they love their guy? Because the more they love their guy, by using the 5Q process, they find out that guy has screwed them. He's not disclosed things. And the things that he did not disclose were for his own benefit, because not just once, but 21 different times, he did not share information that put him in a better position and me, the client, in a worse position. So if you really, are you, somebody shoulders me or does a rude thing, a stranger does a rude thing to me on the street, am I upset? Yeah. For about how long? 5 seconds. But if somebody I love, somebody I trust, somebody who I thought walked on water does that to me, how long does that bad feeling last? How deep is that bad feeling? Is it a temporary 5-second bad feeling? Or is it a worm that gets into my head that I think about and think about and think about? It gets worse and worse and worse. See, when the more they love their guy, when you use this libertarian paternalism to help them figure out for themselves that their guy is taking advantage of them to put more money in his pocket and is hurting them, the more angry they get. Does that make sense? If you nudge people in a direction that will make their lives go better without eliminating freedom of choice, do we eliminate people's freedom of choice? If after the 21-point checklist they still love their guy, what would I say? If they said, no, I knew he was doing all those things wrong. I knew that. I knew he was getting paid more. I knew that he didn't really care about the I knew that all of my managers had only 2-3 years of tenure. I knew that I was paying all those fees. I knew all those things. If the client said that, what would I say? Fine. That's right, Steve. Fine. Good. Hallelujah. You got the right guy then. Everything you thought you had is what you have. Now, how often does that happen? And over the 60,000, 70,000 tapes that we have, how often does that happen? Has that ever happened? Out of 60,000 tapes, has that ever happened? Yes, never, ever, ever, ever happened. See, hard decisions are hard decisions. When there's no right answer, no clear right answer, the only way we'll have a right answer is after the fact. How do we make our decisions? More likely subconsciously than consciously. But so, for example, should I get a surgery? Here's the doctor. I'm trying to determine, should I get surgery? And the doctor says, well, here's the thing. If you get that surgery, 90 out of 100 patients who want that surgery, who get that surgery, not want, 90 out of 100 patients who get that surgery are alive 5 years from now. Would I probably do that surgery then? Yeah. What if he said 10 out of 100 patients who get the surgery are dead 5 years from now? Will I get that surgery? Or will I think more about that? So here's the funny thing. How many more people wanted the surgery when they said 90 out of 100 patients get the surgery alive years from now, as compared to people who said 10 out of 100 patients will be dead 5 years from now? Number one or number two? Which one did they want? Number one or did they want number two? How many of them wanted the surgery versus one versus two? Yeah, everybody wanted this surgery. Everybody wanted this surgery. But it ends up they're both what? The same. It's just two different ways to, and that's kind of, think about the way we do, guys. Do I ever tell in the FIA presentation, do I ever tell them that they have a 10% free withdrawal? Is that phrase ever mentioned? They have a 10% free withdrawal. How does every other non-5Q trained person talk about liquidity for annuities? Oh, you have a 10% free withdrawal. That's kind of right here, right? When you say you have a 10% free withdrawal, what does the client hear? When you tell them they have a 10% free withdrawal, what does the client hear? You mean 90% not? That's right, Tom. 90% of my money is not free withdrawal. So I never bring that up. Instead, I walk them through the logic of the fact that would they ever need the dollar amount that 10% represents? If they did, what would they need it for? What would the likelihood they would use it every single year versus how much tax they would pay and how soon they'd run out of money? See, I help them walk through that process with nudging them in the right direction when it comes to liquidity. But if we just sit and let them make a knee-jerk reaction, if I say, you've got 10% free withdrawal, they're thinking, I got 90%, it's not. They don't want to do that. So we use all of the nudging in the 5Q system? Yes, continually. Here's another example of nudging them. Here's 4 different types of cheese. Guess what? And people that sell things online, people that sell things in retail environments, experts realize this. If you've got 3 systems, you've got a gold system or a platinum. You got 4 systems. Platinum. Then you have a gold. Then you have a silver, and you have a bronze. Which one is ever going to take? platinum, gold, silver, bronze. Which system does everybody want? The gold, that's right, the second best. Not everybody, and I say everybody, the vast majority of people will choose the second most expensive item on the list. Just what people do. It's odd, but that's what people do. They found out this too. If you want honesty, have them sign at the beginning or the end. If you put a contract or like a behavior or morality contract in front of them, should they read the contract first and then sign it, or should they sign it and then read it? I mean, this is if you can get them to do it. Which would make them behave most in line with that document? If you have them sign before they read it or after they read it? See, I'm going to get this right. I got it wrong. Dale's got it right. Before they read it. Before they read it. Because once they've signed it, once they know their signature's on, they're like, oh, geez, I've already signed this. And then they read it, oh, I got to do it. It's odd, but again, it's human nature. People don't think things through, especially if the decision is hard. And again, is moving their money to you hard? Is moving their money, all their money, hard? Do they like change? Do prospects like change? No. Do they like confrontation? No. Is moving their money from their current advisors that they've been with and think is a good guy, because if they didn't think it was a good guy, they would have moved the money a long time ago. So they think he's a good guy. They've had it with him forever. Is moving that money a hassle? Yes. And is it confrontational? Yes. Even if the guy is nice, is it confrontational that they have to let that guy know that we no longer want to work with you, we want to work with somebody else? Is that confrontational? Even if the guy is nice? Yes, it is. So the harder the decision is, the less we're likely to use logic. Why? Because with logic, we're constantly winding ourselves tight as a knot to decide what to do. Let me give you an example of that. A lot of people say it's not really a hard decision, but it is a hard decision. Should you donate your organs at death? Is that an easy decision? For me, it's easy. But there are a ton of people out there that think that's a hard decision. I don't know if I should or I don't. It's kind of icky thinking about it. But or you can think, oh, maybe it's a good thing, because again, it's a hard decision to make. It's a hard decision to make. So here's the funny thing. So Denmark, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Germany, Austria, Belgium, France, Hungary, Poland, Portugal, Sweden, are these vastly different countries? The way they live their lives, their cultures, are they vastly different, or are they somewhat the same? I mean, Austria and Germany, are they how different is Austria and Germany? How different is Belgium and the Netherlands and Denmark? How different is Hungary and Poland? How different is United Kingdom and France? See, they're very, very similar. But when they ask them, do you want to donate your let's look at the United Kingdom and France. Do you want to donate your organs? 17% of the United Kingdom said, but 99.9, almost 100% of France said yes. Austria and Germany, only 12% said yes. Almost 100% said yes. So why? What is the difference here? Well, the difference was here they said opt in. Do you want your organs to be donated at death? Yes or no? Check yes if you do, no if you don't. Over here they said your organs will be donated. Check no if you don't want them to be. So when they do that, guess what? Did they have to make a decision here? Did they have to make a decision here? No. So how easy was it? See, most people, when the decision is hard, most people will put a ton of time and effort into it, or would they just go with the flow? See, over here, they're asked, if you're willing to give your organs, check the box. Over here, they're saying, If you're not willing, check the box. So there's a box here and a box here. Both the ones, they said if you don't want to give your, if you want to give your organs here, check the box. If you don't want to give your organs here, check the box. So what did most people do? What did most people do with the box? They did what? Yeah, Steve Gibbs says the Apple agreement, exactly. So here, the easiest thing for them to do is say, I don't know what I should do, so I'll do what? And that's what we run in with our clients. I don't know if I should move to Mike as my new advisor, so I'll do what? I'm not sure. There's good reasons to stay with my current guy. There's good reasons to move with Mike. So I'm not sure, so I'm going to do what? Nothing. I'm not sure whether I should donate my organs or not, so I'll do nothing. I'm not sure whether I should donate my organs, so I'll do nothing. Guys, this is a black and white example, proof that people, when it comes to hard decisions, they end up doing nothing. If your prospects end up doing nothing, well, how does that affect you? If they do nothing, you get what? Nothing. So you need to be using the tools that we give you to frame things correctly. I mean, one of the hardest decisions in my life, one of the most important decisions in my life is I didn't go to college. Why? Because I came from a huge high school where I had 990 kids in my class, two guidance counselors. So I never saw my guidance counselor, not once. And I was poor. My dad and my mom were poor, and none of us had ever gone to college. So I knew the college cost a lot back then. I didn't have that much money, so I said, I guess I can't go to college. I'll have to do the second, so I'll go in the Navy. So how much time and thought did I put into all that? Did I do any research? And I was not on my SATs. I was 99% math, 99% verbal or in English. So I could have went to any college I wanted to, but in my mind, what? Well, I guess I can't afford college. There's no other way to do it. Now, there's lots of other ways to do it. But I put how much thought in that? Now, there wasn't a day that I was in the Navy I didn't want to get out of the Navy. The way I bought my houses, I don't think I'm a stupid person. So this was a stupid decision. I mean, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I served my country. But if I had my druthers, I would have went to college. I just didn't do enough research to figure that out. Buying those houses, I didn't put a lot of thought into that. Smart people do stupid things unless you help them. Now, if my guidance counselor met with me, what was the chances I would have went to the Navy versus into college? What do you think? If a guidance counselor met with me and walked me through, do you think I would have went to college or went into the Navy as an enlisted person? Which one, guys? Yeah. So I needed a choice architect. I didn't have one there. So leaving out, the point I'm trying to make here is if you do not use a process, if you do not use motivational interviewing, if you do not use the process of being a choice architect, if you don't use the things that we give you, the GOTSs, if you don't use those things, you're leaving it up to the client, and the client thinks it's a hard decision. Because if all you do is show them great results, if you say, look here's a great product, here's the thing your guy is doing wrong, what will they do? If all you do is show them, hey, here's what your guy's doing wrong, and here's a great product, what will they do that information 9 times out of 10? If all I do is say, you're paying a lot of fees, what will they do? Go back to their guy and say, I don't want to pay all these fees anymore. And what will the guy say? Sure, I'll give you a discount, because he's going to give him a discount rather than lose the client. See, if all you do is point out the things they're doing wrong, if all you do is point out the things they could do better on, you'll get nothing, because it's a hard decision to move from their current guy. It's full of hassle. It's full of confrontation. The only way you're going to get them to move is if they come to their own conclusion that their guy, not because you say so, but because they tell themselves through using choice architecture, through using motivational interviewing, through using GOTS, to get them to tell themselves, I can't trust my guy anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I'm going to do one thing, which is to leave my guy. Is the 5Q system about getting them to come on to with you guys? Guys, here's a trick question. Is the 5Q system designed to get them to move their money to you? Trick question. Oh, you guys are so smart. I got two smart right answers. Nick's got it right. Dale's got it right. Tom's got it right. Everybody answer that one. Is the 5Q system designed to get them to move their money to you? Got three right answers so far. Come on, everybody answer. Yeah or nay. Steve's got it right. Yeah. No, it is not. It is not. It is not. It is not. What is the 5Q system designed to do? It gets them to say at the end, what? I can't trust my guy. I do not know what I'm going to do with my money, but I know one thing. I'm not leaving with that guy 1 minute longer. Now, here's the great thing. Because remember, I've talked about this before. I've had so many advisors in the last 23 years of coaching guys say, I'm a little uncomfortable with your system because they move the money before I even show them anything. They're moving the money before I even show them a product. They're moving the money before that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. See, because they're not moving to me because I've got a better product. They're moving to me. Why? Because they left their guy, and what are they going to do at that point? See, I'm kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Here's the thing. Have I shown them all the tricks the other guys played on them? Have I shown them 21 tricks the other guys played on them? And how their current advisor took advantage of them, made more money on them, and put them in a worse position. Yes, I've shown them just 21 things. So what do they know about me? I may not be the best guy in the world. I may not be totally honest, but is there 21 things I cannot do to them? They may think, well, you know what? Maybe Mike's not that great, but at least he's not going to pull those 21 tricks on me. See, I pulled the curtain back. I can't play those tricks on them. If I show you, when you watch a magician and he cuts the lady in half, you're amazed. If he then shows you how he cut the lady in half, are you going to be amazed the next day, or do you know about the tricks? You're no longer amazed because now you know the tricks. You know how it works. So can I pull any of the same 21 tricks their current guy played on him? No. So the whole system is designed to get them to not trust their guy, to leave him because they know he's not trustworthy. He's been taking advantage of them. He's been making money off of them and putting them in a worse position. And they think, well, I don't know a lot about Mike, but I do know at least he's not going to do those 21 things. I'd rather just work with him than go search for somebody else and wonder in my head whether he's going to do those 21 things. Do you see? It's not. I don't try to get them to come to me because I'm a great guy. But they do come to me because they know at least I won't play those same 21 tricks on them. Does that make sense to everybody? And you do that how? By framing the questions appropriately. You have to walk them through it. And then when you walk them through those questions, you have to get on their side. You have to overcome their objections with 3 minutes of telling them why their objection is right. You have to use GOTS. That's in a small way. So every time they answer a question, you give them a pat on the back. You ape them, agree, parrot, or empower them. And so here's the thing. Here's a little trick that I use for folks. I've asked in a 21-point checklist, I think I counted like 900 open-ended questions. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. And if I ask 300 plus open-ended questions, you don't need to do that. You can ask a third of the amount of questions that I ask and still get 100% of people. But here's the thing. How often do I tell people how they should think? How often should I tell people how I think and how smart I am, or to make my point? How often do I tell people my point of view? So Steve, I'm glad and they're all saying never, never, never. There is only one time. There's only one time I tell my point of view, and when is that? When they give me an objection, do I tell them how I think? Yes, I tell them that that thing that they think, for example, if they think that annuities are bad because insurance companies are bad, I'm going to get on their side. Say, yeah, you're right. You are 100%. You think insurance companies are bad. You don't have to work with them every day. I have to work with insurance companies every single day. You think they're bad? They are bad. Their customer service department sucks. They're only after one thing, which is their bottom line. I start telling them what's on my mind and saying that whatever that thing you think about, I'm the poster child for that thing. You might think it 100%. I think it 150%. See, so that's the only time I'm going to let them know what's on my brain. Because what does it tell them when I'm agreeing with them and making their point for them. Not at 100, but at 150%. It tells them that I think just like them. But everybody has said, I don't tell them what's on my mind. I let them tell me what's on their mind. Yes, the other 99% of the time, I let them tell me. Now, how do you get them? So one of our guys last week was wondering, well, how do you get them when they clam up and won't answer my questions? What do I do? What do I do? So let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about it in general first, but then I'm going to give you some techniques on how to get them to answer questions for you. So let's talk in general first. So I get somebody who's really obstinate, won't say anything, won't answer my questions, or gets angry at me because maybe I'm clumsy at first about asking questions, and it doesn't sound conversational. It sounds like I'm drilling them or interrogating them, and they clam up and they don't want to answer my questions. Well, what I'm going to do at that point is apologize, right? What do? When anytime something goes wrong in the meeting, what do? We fall on the sword. We apologize. We apologize. So let's say that they've clammed up on me. They've gotten angry at me for asking so many questions. I'm going to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can imagine right now. It's almost like me beating you, with a rubber hose with a light in your face and getting ready to waterboard. I apologize for asking all these questions. So the reason I'm doing that is this. Do you want me to waste your time or not waste your time? And what do they all answer that? No, I don't want you to waste my time. That's why you're asking all these questions. Hey, yeah, you're right. Asking all these questions is wasting your time. So should I make an assumption about what you think? Because do you think the same way as your neighbor does, and he thinks the same way as his neighbor does, and he thinks the same way as his neighbor does? Is everybody in their block the same? Let's say they all have the same income coming in. They have the same amount of money. Even if they did have the same income coming in, same amount of money, are they all invested in the same things? Or do they all have different investments? Are they all different? Even if they have the same amount of money coming in, is it all coming from the same place? Did they all work at the same company? Are they all getting Social Security, not getting? Is anybody on your block the same? No. So if I start making assumptions that everybody is the same, what would you say about me? I'm helping people or making bad assumptions? We've all heard it. If you assume, what happens? You made a what out of you and a what out of me. Yeah. And if I'm doing that, if I'm doing that, am I doing a good job or a bad job? Or bad job? And if I'm doing a bad job, am I wasting your time, or is it a good investment of your time? You're wasting time. So I guess the only way I apologize for this. Let me just a second here, and I'll do this, kids. I've done this before. I'll put my hand out and then close my eyes and scrunch my eyes and my face and shake my hand like I'm and putting it towards them, like I'm trying to read their minds. And then I'll relax and say, I'm sorry, I can't read your minds. So the only way I know what's on your mind is if I what? Well, if you ask me questions. Yeah. So the more questions I ask, the more I know what's on your mind, or the less I know what's on your mind, or the more. I just feel like you're asking a lot of questions. I totally get it. I apologize for that. Should I just then go ahead and make assumptions? Or even though I understand it's irritating, that's my fault. I'm clumsy at this. But I found through experience, the more I knew about somebody, the better the results, or the less I knew about somebody, the better the results. Well, no, the more. Yeah, so I promise I would try to ask as few questions possible in order to find out enough to give you a custom-made decision, or do you want a cookie cutter recommendations? No, I don't want cookie cutter. So should I ask more or less questions? Okay, I get it. Go ahead and ask questions. Do you see how that would go, guys? But did it start out from me preaching to them? And did I ever tell them how they should think? Or did I just ask a whole bunch of questions until they told me they wanted me to ask more questions? They started out saying, I hate asking questions, but I continued to ask questions. First of all, I fell on the sword. I apologize. But then I continued to ask questions until they told me they wanted to continue to ask questions. Does that make sense? Now, the way I can avoid that is I'm going to ask easier questions. So the easiest question, if you think about it when you're in school, what was the easiest test you ever took? It was a true-false test. So if somebody's struggling to answer questions, I'm going to give them a true or false. So would the market go up or go down? Matching questions. Do you think the market would go up a little, go down, or go up a lot? Guys, does that start to do, when you're thinking about the FIA presentation, when you think about the 5Q 21-point checklist questions, do you see how we've mixed these things in there? So if they're stuck, I ask them a question, and I can tell if they don't want to answer, they can't answer, or they're confused, or they don't even know what I'm asking, I'm going to fall back to a true or false. Is it true the market can only go to three different things, up, down, or sideways? What would they say to that? True. Is that true or false? Yeah, it's a true or false. So is that going to eliminate then? Because if I ask, what can the market do? That's a really vague question. They may not get that. And so I'm looking at them. Their eyes are like, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't want to answer stupid. I don't want to look stupid. So when I see that in their eyes, I don't then tell them. I say, well, can the market do anything but go up, go down, or go sideways? No, it can't. So it has to do what? Well, one of those three things. See how I've gotten them to answer it? Even though when I ask, what can the market do? They're like, what do you mean market can do? It can go up 1%, 2%, 3%, go down 1%. See, I've asked too general a question, and I've couched it into a true false. Then matching it. Say I could use the same question to match. So the market can do what then? Well, it can do up, down, or side. See, then I've helped them with the matching question. A fill in the blank. That was also a fill in the blank way to ask a question. So you're gonna, let's see. They're not answering a question where I say, how much in fees do you want your advisor to charge you? And they're looking at me like I don't know what the right answer there is, because I know the guy doesn't work for free. But I can see that all going through. Okay, that was too vague a question. So how could I then change it to a fill in the blank? If I had my druthers, I would want the fees to be as what as possible. See how I did that? What is everybody going to say there? If I had my druthers, I would like the fees that my advisor charges me to be blank as possible. What will 100% of people say there? What will 100% of people say there? Type it in. What are you going to say there? What would they all say? As low as possible, right? See how I changed that from how much you want your clients or your advisor to charge you. That was too vague a question. Some people would jump in, well, as little as possible. Some people would jump into that. But some people may look at you like, oh, well, I don't even know the right answer to that. So I'm going to give them the right answer by giving them fill in the blank. Multiple choice. I could do the same thing. How much you want your advisor to charge you? And they don't know what I'm saying. They say, well, if we thinking about it, do we want them to be charging us way too much? Enough to make a good living? Nothing? Or do we want them to pay us? Now, obviously, we want them to pay us, but in reality, the other three are likely. So what is it? Way too much, enough to make a good living, but still give us good advice, or not. So I see how I'm giving them a multiple choice, and I'm framing it in a manner where they're going to give me that answer. And after I've done these things, after I've dumbed it down, I always circle back with an essay question then. Okay, so when we're thinking about our advisor, how much do we want them to charge us? So after they've answered those true, false, matching, fill in the blank, whatever questions, I can then circle back and say, because I've given them enough information, I've helped them frame it in their minds, but I always go back to an essay question, because an essay question puts all the facts together in a story. And that's what our brains remember. That's what our brains understand. That's what our brains look at as a truthism, is when we put them all into a story. So I mean, all those questions I just asked, those true and false questions, and the matching question, the fill in the blank question, the multiple choice questions, after they've answered these, I'm always going to circle back to the essay questions. So how much do we want our advisor to charge? At that point, they'll be able to answer it, because they've answered all those other questions. So they know now, I won't get that deer in the headlights look. They know now the correct answer. Does that make sense? And then the other thing is, why will I ask them all of these? Why will I ask them all these questions and then follow up with an essay? I'm asking the same question 15 times. Well, why is that? It's because they don't get things right away. Just like when your kids were in, or when you were in grade school, our kids are in grade school, do they do addition? And then once the kids get addition on a Monday, they move into subtraction on Tuesday. Once they get the idea of subtraction on Tuesday, then they go into multiplication on Wednesday, and then once they get to multiplication, they go on division on Thursday. Is that how they do it? Or do they spend 2 months at addition, and another 2 months at subtraction, and then they spend 3 or 4 months at multiplication, then they spend 4 or 5 months at division, doing the same thing over and over and over and over. So here's the thing, by asking all these questions over and over and over, what's the likelihood they get it by the end? They need to be able to tell me why by the end. Why then is the amount that your advisor is charging you a bad thing? They need to be able to tell me that. Does that make sense? The more they say it, the longer it sticks in their brain, the truer it becomes. So you need to know where to start. Where do you start is you need to know what you want them to say very, very specifically. Do we have a tool for that? See, if you ask a vague question, you get a vague answer. When you ask a crystal clear question, you get a crystal clear. Do we have a tool that helps you make sure you know what the client wants? Yes, we do. If you go to the 20-point checklist and then you go to what is the end goal for each of the 20-point checklist topics, a video teaching you that and the outline, it's right here. I want them to say this at the end of the introduction. I want them to say this at the end of the Survivor's Guide. I want them to say this at the end of the Will and Trust. I want them to say this at the end of the Power of Attorney. I want any advisor doesn't look at my POA as a bad advisor. The Quality Life Tracker, any advisor doesn't ensure that I have an MPOA and is filled by electronically and a Quality Life Tracker is a bad advisor. It tells you exactly what you want them to say for every single one of the 21 different things. Can you have these on a little post-its on your copy of the 21-point checklist? Yes, I highly encourage it. I highly encourage that you have that there. Is the client going to be upset that you have notes on your copy? Or are they going to respect the fact that you're well prepared if you have notes on your copy? So the techniques are, first of all, if they get mad at you for asking so many questions, apologize and then basically walk through. Do they want you to make assumptions? Do they want you to give them a cookie cutter? Or do they want you to do things a smart way and give them a tailored version? If a tailored version, the only way you can give them a tailored version is if what? You ask them questions, you understand them. Once you do that, then you use these techniques. Let them finish my sentences. End sentences with what? Use a ridiculous or exaggeration. If I want, we use a ridiculous exaggeration. I say, when you think about it, when we talk about how much they have at risk versus how much they have at capital preservation, say, so we go through the whole bell curve thing. And say, so are you the kind of person then that takes their money and you're so conservative, you take it out of the backyard, you bury it, and you mark it on a treasure map so nobody knows where it is? Are you that conservative? Or are you the kind of person that goes to the casino with your Social Security check every month and then blow it on red on the roulette wheel? Or are you somewhere in between where you take logical risks with logical desires for rates of return? So are you the bury the money in the backyard kind of conservative? Are you roll it all every month? Roll the dice in the casino, or you're somewhere in the middle? By doing the ridiculous, burying the money, going to the casino and gambling it away, I've given the right answer, which is what? They're somewhere where? In the middle. Talking a language where they can predict what you're going to say. So I'm doing it right there, right? So are you going in the backyard and you're like, oh, dig, I'm going to bury it and hopefully nobody sees what it is? Or are you going to the casino and say, hey, throw it all on the red, throw it all on the red? Are you the reasonable person in the middle where, yeah, you're going to take risks, but obviously you want them to be the least risk possible for the highest return possible? Did I use talking a language they knew the correct answer there? Yes or no, yay or nay, Y or N? So I use ridiculous and I use intonation on helping them guide them to where they want to be. Did anybody want to be sneaking in the backyard and burying the money, or hey, let's roll on it? Or do they want to be the reasonable person in the middle? They want to be the reasonable person in the middle. And then once if you really are stuck, you can go ahead and tell them the right answer, and then just ask a follow-up question, have them retell it to you. And if you slip and ask a close-ended question, it's very simple to follow up with an open-ended question. Say, and why? And why is that the case? Does that make sense? And just a quick example of that, if I ask somebody what color is the sky, what's most people going to say? They're going to say blue. And I'm kind of hurrying through here. If I want them to say black, I'm going to say, well, if you go out at night and there's not a star in the sky and it's overcast, you look up at the sky, what color is the sky? They're going to say, what? It's black. If they say, oh, you go out on a stormy day, it's really unsettled, it's overcast, what color is the sky? They're all going to say what? Gray. If I want them to say orange or red, I say you're down at the Key West, it's a beautiful sunset. Everybody's on the beach drinking their Mai Tais and pina coladas, and you're looking at that sunset. What color is the sky? They're all going to say orange or red. See, I can have them say whatever I want them to say by couching it correctly. Make sense? So I kind of rushed through the last part of that, but covered a lot of information. I would highly recommend you go back and listen to this coaching call again if you're looking at getting your skills higher, to get them to tell you what they need to tell, at least the last part of this coach presentation. All right. Thanks for being on. You guys have a great rest of the week. Happy 4th of July, and we'll talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.